Hello, 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 and welcome to another live coaching. Oh, how was your week? Where are you? Did you sail? What is going on in your windsurfing life? I'm on Maui, heading back to Europe soon, and I'm not really looking forward to leaving the mecca of windsurfing. We had a good run. The last week has been good, and it's felt really good to start getting back into a groove with my windsurfing. As you guys know, I've been traveling a lot, been pretty busy over the last 6 months, and so it's nice to have a stretch of conditions, get really back into it. So I've been having a lot of fun. Had a little injury on my foot, so I missed a couple days. I'll explain what happened a little bit later in the live stream. For now, if you're joining us, let us know where you are. Did you sail? Say hi in the chat. Say hi in the chat. And then we're going to get the Facebook group loaded up and yeah, go through it. Go through it. There's some of my footage from the week in there as well. And I'm going to talk about it. And if you guys have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to ask. All right, we got Kevin. First time here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. No sailing this week, but the week before you had 6 sessions. Awesome. I would love to go to New Zealand. New Zealand, from what I've seen, is amazing for windsurfing. Kevin, where do you windsurf? What's your main spot? And what are the conditions like? I would love to go to New Zealand. It looks awesome. All right, we're gonna get the Facebook group loaded up. We gotta get this moved around. We got Ragnar in the chat. Ragnar says warmer weather but still ice surfing. We got Axel as well. Axel says windsurfing life is non-existent but looking forward to Morocco. Axel is going to be joining us for the masterclass in Morocco, and there's still spaces not in Axel's week, but in the other weeks that we're doing. So if you want to join us in Morocco, you can go to windsurfingmasterclass.com and do it there. You can apply. I can walk you through that. Ooh, let's make this smaller. I can walk you through that. So if you go to windsurfingmasterclass.com and you want to join our Morocco masterclass, there's some other masterclasses as well. So you can go apply here, or you can go up to these 3 little dots, masterclass schedule. Week 1, this is the one that Axel's on, is sold out. But you can go to week 2, you can apply here, fill out the application, then I will contact you and we'll go from there. There's also Gran Canaria and then Maui as well. So if you're interested in joining an in-person masterclass, this is the place to do it. If you want to improve your tax or learn the shove it, you can go here to the learning portal and join one of the online courses. TAC course has a massive success rate. I'm surprised at how well it is for improving tax. So if you want to improve your tax, the TAC course is a good way to do it. And the Shove It course, Shove It is a hard move, but it's also an accessible move. The journey is a bit harder than the TAC, and we spell out the path here. All right, so let's get into the Facebook group. First of all, I'm going to go back to the chats. We got Jorg saying that light wind session in southern Sweden, but better than nothing. Better than nothing. Yeah. Session is always better than nothing. I totally understand that. All right, let's make this a little bit bigger. All right. Who else is in the chat? So Kevin says that Taranaki is down the line and Auckland is bump and jump and onshore. And so, Kevin, where do you normally go? We've got Mark as well. Mark, welcome. Joe just finished the Cornish Coldwater Classic, and the conditions were unbelievably good down the line, full of entrants. So Joe was on the organization team for this event and was also competing in it. And he sent me a text earlier today that he did well. So congrats, Joe. I want to hear more about it. Why don't you give us a little insight in the chat, what was going on, how you did, how the event went. Would love to hear it. Joe is one of the alumni from our windsurfing master classes. He was in Morocco last year. We've got Bart as well, who was also at the Coldwater Classic in Cornwall. Awesome. All right, let's get into the Facebook group. We'll come back to the chat. Mike as well. We got a lot of good Coldwater Cornwall Classic sailors in the chat. Awesome. All right, so let's start it off with some pictures from that event. So this is a BWA event that was held in Cornwall. Joe, who is part of the Windsurfing Masterclass family, was on the organization team. Look at these pictures. It looks awesome. Down the line. Beautiful. So who won? Who won the pros? What was the podium? Conditions look great. What was it like? Give us, everyone that was there, give us a little breakdown about your experience. And then Joe, I'd love to hear who won, how it went, what the podium was like. How did it feel sailing in the pros? So this was Joe's first time in the pro fleet. He won the amateurs last year, and we've been doing some private coachings. And one of the things we were talking about is how to deal with the pro fleet, how to deal once you're stepped up into the big leagues. So Joe says Friday was pretty huge, and the pro only day with Ian. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna keep hearing about the Coldwater Classic, but I'm gonna go through the Facebook group. So you guys just let me know in the chat, and I'll circle back. So there's a new helmet company that John is posting about. Interesting. I think there's a lot of innovation in surf helmets, windsurf helmets. It's cool to see something like this. It looks very light, which is cool. I've got some forward whips that are really good. I'm pretty happy with them. I know Dakine makes some good ones. Gath. I use Gath for a long time, but the problem is they don't have great impact protection. And I think they've improved that. But for a long time, it wasn't that great. And Forward Whip and some of these other companies are making some really cool helmets. This one is supposed to be really light, which is the main selling factor. Forward Whip makes an incredibly light helmet as well. I think it's single impact though, so it's only good for one heavy impact, but still super, super light. All right, we've got Kevin Bennett, new to the group, longtime windsurfer, newish to wave sailing. Been doing it for about 18 months, so that Kevin is in the chat with us. Awesome. Local down the line spot is 5 hours drive, so he goes twice a month. And he thought he'd post footage to see if there's any advice or areas to improve. And he understands it's tricky with POV footage, but any footage is good footage. He's thinking about the wave selection, timing, overcoming the apprehension of going critical and hitting lips. Cool. All right. This is in Taranaki. Again, New Zealand, amazing for windsurfing. And like Tomas is harding out over seeing some footage from Taranaki and has sailed before. Amazing. All right. So we got an update from Joe. So Joe says, first was Phil Horrocks, Ben Page, and then Andy King, and then Lucas Meldrum. Cool. All right, so let's watch sound. All right, getting a good rhythm, good flow, good rhythm, good flow. Snappy cutback. All right, here's another wave. So we're gonna watch this just once through, and then I'm gonna go back and offer some coaching on it. Boom. Getting critical. Looks amazingly fun. I love the rhythm, Kevin. I love the rhythm. Going from turn to turn to turn, like you're downhill skiing, going through a slalom course. And yeah, that's what wave riding is about. Okay, so let's get into some coaching. So can you guys still see it with this angle? Not really, right? So how do we? There we go. All right. So there's a couple things that I see here technique wise. And so we've got two main buckets that we're thinking about when we're trying to improve our wave riding. The first is technique, right? And that's what we're doing with our hands and our body and everything else. And the other is what I would call the fundamentals. And so it's your placement, your timing, wave selection, what you're thinking about, all of those things. And so I'm going to talk first about some fundamentals. And so you're pulling the sail into you very much, and that is causing you to stand upright rather than leaning forward. And so it can actually be really useful. Think about pushing the sail away from you more than pulling it into you. And if you think about what happens when you pull the sail into you, is that it shoots you downwind and it makes it really good for initiating the turn, but then really difficult for coming back up the face of the wave. Like if you were trying to do a jibe and you stayed sheeted in hard the whole time, you wouldn't ever be able to come through the wind and come out to the other side. And we want our bottom turns to look like U's. We don't want them to look like a straight line. And so that sheet in can be really useful initially, but then you want to get that sail pushed away from you so you can get your body forward and allow the sail to open up so that you can come more vertical on the wave. But good flow here. Something that is also relevant when it comes to technique is moving the hands, and this one is difficult to really ingrain, but it makes a big difference. If you go from a wide grip on your bottom turn to a narrow grip on the cutback, everything just works a lot easier. You don't have to think about it as much in the cutback, but thinking about getting a really wide grip before you go into your bottom turn pays huge dividends. It's almost like a superpower. So there we see some of that hand movement. We go from a wide grip to a narrow grip. And if you're doing that on every turn, you'll notice that it really pays off. So getting those hands going from wide to narrow makes a big difference. But I really like the flow here. So Kevin, I just want to take a minute to say this flow of going from turn to turn is what you want to be doing. So as we start focusing on other aspects of technique, don't lose this flow and this feeling of going from turn to turn, because this is really what surfing is about. It's this dance with the ocean and these forces that are more powerful than all of us. Something I want to point out here is your approach to the whitewater. And so you're starting to do the turn below the whitewater. And this brings us to probably the most common concept in this coaching group, which is the high five. And so the idea of the high five is you want the power of the wave to hit the bottom of the board. You want the power of the wave to hit the bottom of the board. And so you don't want it to hit the rail. You want it to hit the flat bottom of the board between your feet. And so that means that you want to steer more into the wave than under it. And so you would continue this bottom turn a little bit higher, and then you present the bottom of the board to that whitewater so that the power of the wave high fives into the bottom of the board and moves you around. What I like to say is that the cut back is the wave's job and the bottom turn. Okay? So the cut back is the wave's job and the bottom turn is your job. So you want to do your work in the cut back, in the bottom turn, so the cut back. And so that means putting your board in the high five position. So then that energy from the wave can transfer into the board. All right, I don't want to overwhelm you, Kevin. So those are three big things to think about. The first is really pushing that sail away from you in the bottom turns, and that allows your upper body to lean over and to get on the rail, and also to do more of a U-shaped turn. The second thing is to really focus on that hand movement, and it can be difficult to think of it all at once. So instead, think about getting that wide grip before you start your bottom turn. When we're trying to do things like get low in the wave ride, grip wide, instead of trying to do it as your initiator turn, it's much easier if you before you start your turn. Makes a big difference. Makes a really big difference. And then the third thing is the high five. Is getting that high five. We got Max in the chat. Hello, Max. Welcome. All right. Next up, we've got another question from Kevin, and he's been watching a lot of the archives on bottom turns. There's a lot to it, a lot to process. Given that, what would be the best starting point to achieve an overall improvement? To this point, he's only started to realize how important the bottom turn is, and I feel that he's probably learned some bad habits, which he now needs to correct. Yeah, so we've already talked about this a bit. I think that getting that sail pushed away from you and thinking about hinging at the hips is going to be really useful. And then the other thing, which it kind of sounds like a paradox, but somehow that makes it more true. You think about the technique, but also think less about the technique and think about where you want to go. And then your body will start to figure it out. And so if you're looking for those sections, like those whitewater sections that you're coming up to, and really trying to get into that high five position, that's also going to improve your bottom turn because then your body is naturally going to be um, putting itself in the position to get that high five. So getting that high five, getting the sail pushed away from you, the wide grip, those are going to be really powerful. And then get some more footage. Let us know how it goes. That is a really good starting point. All right, here next up, this is one of my sessions. Let's make this full screen, and then get into it. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask as well. So so this is one of my sessions this week. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun on this session. Uh, it was kind of tricky. A lot of other people were saying that it wasn't great conditions, but yeah, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Started off. It's always good to start off with a strong wave. I mean, you can have a session without starting off on a strong wave too, but um, it's definitely something that can help motivate you. And so starting off with that goiter, I think was powerful. It was really windy, so I was pretty powered up, and some of the waves were really choppy. And so I was trying to navigate the wind and the chop and getting comfortable. Something about the 360s just weren't working. It was a weird day for that. Um, and then I was having some difficulty with the bigger ones because they were really choppy. And so then I started trying to find some smaller ones, trying to find some smooth sections. Uh, so much of riding, especially when the waves are bigger, is about wave selection. And a lot of that wave selection is about getting off of waves that you thought look good, but then you decide don't. Um, these turns are funny because when I look at the video, I think it looks good. But on the water, I hate the feeling of these. I hate the fins sliding out. I want to carve around instead of sliding. But actually, they don't look that bad on the video. You can see all the chop. And so I'm just trying to avoid the chop on that big one. So I think this is relevant, especially if you're starting to go in bigger waves and you want to avoid chop. And so look, this whole part of the wave is choppy. And so I'm just trying to get away from it because if I start my bottom turn here where there's all these chops, I'm going to bounce. It's going to go wrong. It's not going to work. Like, look, I'm hopping over all these chops. Look at all these chops that I'm going over. Big chops. Just trying to find a smooth place that I can put my board. And even there, I mean, it still is pretty choppy. But just looking for somewhere smooth and not worrying about losing all of the rest of this wave. Because, again, if you're trying to turn where it's really choppy, it's not going to work that well. This one was a little scary because I got hooked in here on this aerial. That's also kind of interesting. So hit this section, flying, sheeting in, and then boom, I got hooked in right there. Come in for the landing. I thought, oh shoot. But it all worked fine. Threw me off a little bit though. Threw me off a little bit. All right. So here again, lots of chop, lots of chop. Trying to find some smooth places between the chop. I don't know if you can see, we'll look at this on the next one, but where I'm positioning my bottom turn is really critical. So I'm trying to find a place to turn where there's no chops. So trying to turn between the chops here, just completely going around the chops, going around the chops. There I went over one. So like what I was talking about with Kevin with the rhythm, this, I love waves like this. For me, this just feels so good going from one off the lip, right into another one, right into another one. I love that feeling. Something, if I'm coaching myself here, my legs are a lot straighter than I want them to be. And I don't really know why that is. It's maybe something I need to cue more, maybe because it's been so windy or because I've had less time on the water this year or in the last few months. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but in the bottom turn, one of the key things is get low before you go. Get low before you go. And I'm a little bit more upright, a little bit more upright um, than I would like. All right, we got Greg in the chat. Greg in the chat says, "Great, first ever windsurfing competition. What an experience! Cool." Axel's asking if it was choppy because of the wind or the swell direction. Yeah, probably a combination of everything. It was super windy. Normally, it's not so windy, and with that swell direction, with the west direction, it can be choppy, but it can also be clean. Like this wave here, it's pretty clean. Uh, but you've got to find the moments. You've got to find the moments. I think this is true of a lot of spots around the world. It's not perfect. If you're in Cabo Verde, okay, all the waves are going to be really clean and perfect. But most spots, some of them are going to be really choppy and some of them aren't. And like this wave looks pretty clean here. And so it's about finding the clean waves and then finding the moments. But I got scared, which is also, a normal thing. I like these videos where you can see my whole session because you can see also the moments where, like this, where I chicken out. So instead of going for that lip, something felt a little bit off. And so I turned around it instead of hitting it. I don't know. I felt maybe a little bit too slow or a little bit in the wrong position or maybe a little bit late. And that's fine. It's fine. Not every wave has to be a absolute banger. In general, though, I think it is good to count the lips you go for. So this is also another good metric. It's like, instead of thinking about counting the off the lips that you land, think about counting the off the lips that you're scared to go for and you go for. Um, yeah, does that make sense? So it's about what you try, not about what you land. And I think that is a much, much better metric for measuring a session. Yeah, I like turns like that. Again, this is a smaller wave, but clean. And so trying to balance between choosing big ones, choosing um, clean ones. So we have a question from Ragnar. Ragnar says, "There's a lot of discussion on leaning the sail in this group. It would be interesting to look at you riding more onshore in Clipmiller or hence them." Yeah, I have a ton of onshore riding footage um, that I'll post. That's a good idea. I like turns like this. Something like this is really simple, really really simple in terms of just rail to rail riding, but I love the feeling of this. Just simple carving turns. It just feels so good. All right, so Ragnar is saying he means about laying down the sail. Yeah, so laying down the sail is something that people love to talk about, and it can look cool, but I think if you get obsessed about it, then it doesn't help you. Uh, and in more down the line conditions, you're gonna lay down the sail more. So like these conditions, I'm doing more of a lay down in my bottom turns. Here, my timing's a little bit off. I started getting tired. At this point, I realized I was getting tired. Once I realized that my timing was off, I was like, "Oh, I'm getting tired. It's time to take it easy." And then this one, I got knocked a little bit off balance. Okay, time to get one more wave and then go in. I'm tired, and so I caught this big one and rode it easy. I didn't really push myself too hard. Just again, nice carving turns, just having fun, not trying to go for some huge off the lips. And then I went in. This was my last real wave of this session. In these kind of conditions, you do get a lot more lay down, right? But in onshore conditions, it depends. There can be places where it's useful. My main comment with lay down is that there's a place for them, but they're not the answer to the bottom turn. And there are a lot of other factors in the bottom turn that are more important than laying the sail down. And in fact, you can do a really good bottom turn without laying the sail down. And so these other things like the wide grip, getting low before you go, uh, getting a hinge at the hips, all of those are more important than laying the sail down. All right, we've got a post from Tomas. He says, board bags and protecting the gear while traveling is a recurring theme. All right, so he got this bag from Max Brereton, who runs Huska Protective Cases. Cool. Um, okay, so they use a secret material, love it, called Powa Pro. Hard shell bags that packs fairly flat when not in use and has detachable wheels. It weighs just under 7 kilograms without wheels. That's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy. My bags are, I should weigh my bags, but I think they weigh a lot less than 7 kilograms without wheels. 7 kilograms is pretty heavy. Like if your limit is 23 and you're using almost a third just for your bag, I should measure my bag before I'm saying too much because maybe my bag is also heavy. I think I would guess that my bag is somewhere around um my triple board bag's maybe around 5 kilos. I'm not sure though. I should weigh it before I talk trash about the weight of these other bags. Uh, it looks really good. It looks really solid. It's a solid looking bag. Um, if you're looking for a really high end protective bag, sweet. I really like the look of the design. I would love to see one and try one, and I should weigh one of my triple board bags. Um, for me, the weight is a huge factor. I don't find uh, that there's that much risk of damage to the material if you pack it right. Sure, some boards, sometimes something will happen, but if the board is getting run over by the luggage carrier as it's sitting on the tarmac, there's not that much you can do to protect it. But in general, put some padding in there. You have a bag with some foam, your gear is going to be fine. And so for me, the weight is a bigger factor because, yeah, um, checking in with gear, and it always comes down to the grams and fractions of a pound. So I want as light as possible. I should weigh my board bags, my triple board bags, to see what they actually weigh. But this looks really cool. Again, it's maybe a little heavier, maybe not. I'm not sure. Uh, but it does look really cool. Looks technical. If you want a high end bag, go for it. All right. We talked about this footage last week. This is the footage from Gianluca we talked about. And I think like that, we are caught up. Joe was saying that he posted some video. So let's check out what he posted. All right. So here is a video from the final. Let's make this full screen, or at least bigger. All right. Let's make it full screen. Come on. Wow. Beautiful. I love the look. All right. Coming up, little carve under the lip. Yeah, some nice carving bottom turns. So who is this? Who is this on the water? Looks good. Looks fun. Long waves. Boom. Look at that. Nice. Nice aerial to close off the wave. I love it. Let's watch this again. So chooses his spot, fading, fading, fading. Comes up a little bit under the lip. I'd like to see something a little bit more critical, but it's a good setup turn. Good setup turn. The wave is starting to set up. Solid. Solid. Beautiful. Oh, Ben Page is the writer. Yeah. Cool. I love it. All right, guys, that is it. We're all caught up. I'm going to sign off for the week. I hope everyone has a wonderful windy week. If you want to join one of our masterclasses, go to windsurfingmasterclass.com and apply. All right. Looking forward to seeing you next week, Sunday. I hope you get on the water.